This is a review of the Mastro Defence System. I just spent the last 2 months, October and November 2017, as a student at the main dojo in Belgium. Fred Mastro was the lead instructor for just under half of those lessons. Why am I doing a review? Well, when I was thinking of going to train in Belgium, I searched for reviews, and I couldn't find much, just 2 articles in French, which I can't read. It would have been nice to know a little bit more about what to expect and some tips to prepare for the training. So if you're thinking of going to Belgium or even attending an MDS seminar, then keep watching. This is not a comparative review of MDS versus other systems, so don't expect that. Before I go any further, I know I'll probably get some complaints for this, so apologies in advance for the vertical video. When I shot the video, it really wasn't intended for YouTube, only for me to revise techniques using my iPhone, and vertical is the best format for that. I should point out that I have not and am not going to receive any benefit for doing this review. It's purely to help other people who are in the same position that I was. So what exactly did I do? I went to train at the main dojo in Charleroi, Belgium for a period of 2 months, 2 lessons per week. I tried to train with different training partners and never the same person more than twice. Fred and the other instructors do plenty of additional seminars in Belgium and other European countries, but I didn't attend those because I wanted to master the basics first, instead of simply collecting techniques. It was a hard call though, because there are some great events like a joint seminar with Flavio Bering on integrating BJJ and the Mastro Defence System in street fights, and I wish I'd attended that one. But what is the Mastro Defence System? Well, to understand the Mastro Defence System, think about what happens in an average street altercation. It'll start with a trigger. The guys will be posturing, then they start threatening each other. And then there's an initial shove or push. That then goes to an initial strike. The fight escalates. There's an exchange of strikes. They start grappling or clinching. Then perhaps they go to ground, somebody falls or is taken down, and it ends up in a knockout. Now obviously not all fights are like this, but many of them are. And the Mastro Defence System focuses heavily on the threatening, the initial shove, and the initial strike. It's the immediate and rapid application of techniques at that point to finish the fight as quickly as possible. Now this makes sense, particularly given the VIP protection background of Fred and some of his crew, because once you perceive a threat to your VIP client, you have to act quickly and get your client to safety. And it's all about reacting with speed to startle or stun the opponent, which gains you a precious second or 2, during which you can strike decisively, disabling your opponent so you can bring the fight to whatever outcome you want. A form of control, like an arm lock, or a takedown, a knockout blow, or you simply escape. Does the Mastro Defence System integrate with other martial arts? Well, yes, there are practitioners of Taekwondo, Karate, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Kali, kickboxing, and others attending the classes. And what happens is they use the MDS techniques as an entry and their own arts to finish. Instructors, especially Sergio, who's the head Belgian instructor, would often come over to me and show me variations. He'd say police and show me a variation based on gaining distance and weapon retention, or BJJ and show a finish based on a submission. So certainly students from other martial arts backgrounds are welcomed. And you can see because the seminars that Fred does around Europe and the rest of the world are often done in conjunction with other martial arts schools. What can you expect when you're training? Fred Mastro is obviously the founder and head instructor, but he's often traveling, so he's not always there. He does, however, have a large and competent team, and quite an unusually large proportion of instructors to students. It was not uncommon to have one instructor to 2 or 3 students in a class. What happens in a class, in a typical class? Well, it starts with 10 minutes of conditioning, then another 10 or so minutes of warming up. That's push-ups, planking, and core work. Then you have an entry drill, which is avoiding a punch while simultaneously attacking. Then the bulk of the lesson will be spent on 4 or 5 techniques. And these techniques are often related. So they might be defenses against wrist grabs, for example, or clinch work, or something else. The Mastro Defence System will not help you with getting a six-pack. There is no cardio workout whatsoever. If anything, it's the opposite due to the emphasis on efficiency of movement. It's not visually appealing because you don't move very much. The moves are all relatively small, but that's what makes them effective. They're very hard for an opponent to predict and respond. How can you prepare for training? Well, this applies to those intending to travel to Belgium, as well as those attending seminars. Firstly, conditioning drills. Toughen up your forearms, both inside and outside. And work on your thighs and your calves, because it's going to help if you can handle some meaty kicks. Secondly, learn to strike using the movement of your hips. That adds power, and it's the reason why seemingly small strikes in Fred's videos can cause so much pain. What should you bring along? Well, groin protection is mandatory because there are a lot of groin strikes. A mouth guard can be useful. I can think of a few occasions when I should have, but didn't use mine. Otherwise, students just wear cargo pants or similarly loose pants and sneakers. As for the language, classes are conducted in French, so it helps if you learn basic terms of anatomy or numbers, but it's not a big deal. A few of the instructors, especially Dario and Carlos, can speak English fluently, and if they're around, they'll be able to translate. But overall, I didn't miss out on a lot, even when they weren't around. On that point, the instructors are very helpful, very friendly. All I noticed were positive attitudes, and really they do their best to help students learn techniques. Is it effective? Well, I felt it was all very effective. When you're on the receiving end of a sequence of strategically placed strikes, you'll realize how they can disable the opponent very quickly, or at least stun him until it's too late and he finds himself taken down. It's also quite simple. While it requires a lot of practice to get the body mechanics correct, the structure of the Mastro Defence System isn't a complicated one, so it should be a lot easier to deliver when you're under stress. So, in concluding, I found it to be very worthwhile, and I'd recommend going to Belgium or one of the many schools to train in the Mastro Defence System. If you can attend a seminar, it's a good introduction and it'll give you a taste of what to expect, but obviously with limited time, it's difficult to cover all the basics. If you'd like me to do other videos explaining other parts of MDS or my experiences, then leave a comment. Thank you for watching.